I mean, you've got right to the heart of actually the way capitalism works today. The capitalism essentially relies on the subsidy that invariably women provide through what's called reproductive labor, through the labor of bringing up children, of maintaining community, of doing work around the household. And because that's not paid for, that's something that subsidizes the actual process of work and of labor in society at large. And if you were to try and put a dollar value on that, as the United Nations did a few years ago, in 1995, the figure they came up with as women's work was worth $17 trillion, which is more than half the world's total output at the time. But of course, none of that was paid for. And
it's the old question of the chicken and the egg. Is it not paid for because people we don't value do it, or are the people not valued because we don't pay them for the work they do?
Right, and of course, one way to answer that question is through the very practical example of fighting for wages for housework. Yeah. And movements have been doing that, more or less successfully. And what's really exciting about the movement for me is the way that they're about equalizing relations of power up and down the food system, including that most intimate of spaces, the household. Because, as we were talking before, I mean, there's a great deal of inequality that happens within the home. And in the book, I talk about why one of the slogans for food sovereignty is food sovereignty, which is the sort of vision of Via Campesina, is about an end to all forms of violence against women. And that's, that may seem like it has nothing to do with food. And yet, as we were saying, the violence of women being unpaid for their work and exploited for their work in the household is obviously piled on top of domestic violence, which the movement takes very seriously. Yeah. But then there's the structural violence of being unable to sell your product in the market, the structural violence of having your country so impoverished by structural adjustment policies like Haiti had, for example, that you're dependent entirely on outside food rather than being able to sell your own.